Now, the first case that we're going to look at is one of those. He probably has block regulation. And we're going to show how the Trinfinity affects that. And it was quite phenomenal. So we're going to go through the first case. And this is a case that actually we tested at a conference in North Carolina. One of the first cases that we saw major changes on the heart rate variability after using Trinfinity 8. And here we go. So here's the first case. And what we're looking at is each one of these little lines here that I'm pointing at is the heart contracting. And between one contraction and the next, these are also called R waves, there should be a difference in time. The time shouldn't be the same between one contraction and the next. That would mean that there's not a lot of heart rate variability, which reflects how well the nervous system is able to adapt and function. And in this case, if they have good heart rate variability, you'll see like a nice wave pattern here instead of this big straight line going across here. It means this person doesn't have good flexibility in his nervous system. But really, to get a quick look here, they lay it out for us here in these functional states. This is A stands for how well the body can adapt. B stands for how well the autonomic nervous system can regulate between those two branches we talked about. C talks about the neuroendocrine function of the body and how well that's able to work. And this is the psycho-emotional state, which is the one in pink. And this is the total health of all of those things. And you can see that everything here is very, very low. Again, this person has block regulation. And it's telling us that because we can look at the stoplight and see that it's red. It means that the system is not working very well. And again, just another view in a different way showing the same thing. All these different states, you should see them filled up to the top. They're very low. Here it says the conclusion. There is a possibility of adaptation breakdown. There's functional failures in the autonomic regulation, which means the sympathetic and parasympathetic are again not regulating. And there's a breakdown in the central regulation mechanism. And there's signs of depression. Basically, this person is definitely not, his physiology as far as his nervous system isn't working very well. And I'm going to go on to the next slide. And this is another breakdown for us. And this is saying another way, just another way of saying here, this is only 1%. There's hardly anything in this field here. It's saying that this area right here should be up to the top. It should be 100% or much higher. It's 1%, meaning that the autonomic regulation is just not doing very well. And either is his reserves for his autonomic nervous system. And what I see here that's really, really important that we're going to see here is this is a number called 4.3. It's called the Z parameter. And this 4.3 should be between 50 to 500. That means this person has very little vital energy, very little vital force. And we can see that his dominant area here, this yellow, is the sympathetic nervous system, which we talked about before. It's more, his system is more in fight or flight. It's the more dominant part of his nervous system that's functioning right now. We also look here and we can see that this is called the golden section parameter, and it's all zeros here. It should be between 0.15 and 0.63, which means that the nervous system has to control the speed of the heart, the rhythms of the heart. And the parasympathetic and sympathetic do that, but when it's this low, there's a tendency for more arrhythmias and those kind of things to occur. And here, this is 600 different biorhythms. It's really looking at the neuroendocrine system and how well it's regulating and working together. And you want all white here showing up in these bubbles, meaning this scale here is showing that this is the best and down here is the worst. And this person is kind of gray and red down at the bottom, kind of the worst. There's not much communication. This is telling me that the neurons in the brain aren't getting enough oxygen and nutrients, and his metabolism is very low. This should, at least when I add this up, this should be 200. This is his ability to, his catabolic and anabolic states is looking more at metabolism, and it's very low. Everything's low, low, low. And his brain function, also very low. This is looking at the electrical activity of the brain, the states of arousal. We're looking at all the delta, theta, alpha, and beta states. And there's not much activity, as you can see here. And this is a spectral analysis, and there's a lot of gaps missing here. Basically, it's showing red. It's showing that this person is again, everything is very, very low functioning. And this is showing, this is called fractal analysis. And this is showing basically how dynamic his system is working. And without going into too much depth, this is the best. And going through here all the way to the worst, he's in the worst area. In other words, his body's going in the wrong direction with his health. And there's, no, again, not much flexibility. And his age here, it tells us, is 68, but he's looking more like he's 76. So let's go ahead and do a Trinfinity 8 session and see what happens with this. So here's his first session. And as you can see, after his first session, there's more activity here, there's more heart rate variability, there's more movement, and look at the functional states. Everything has come up. It's pretty amazing to us. And it went from a red, and this has gone from a red now to it's a red-yellow. That means things are improving. Things are going in the right direction. We look at his Z-score, which is 36.7, and if you remember what it was before, if we go back and look, his Z-score was 4.3. So already it's bringing vital energy into the body. We know that when we do the Trinfinity, because we've seen this over and over again, that it brings more energy into the system. So again, now he's still not in range completely at the 36.7 because it's 50 to 500, but we'll see some other changes take place as well. We also notice that the control of the heart rhythms are much better by looking at the golden section parameter. The numbers are coming up here. We look at the neurodynamic matrix, and before he was all gray and red, now he's moving more up into the green and yellow. Things are improving, more communication, more energy into the system. His metabolism is coming up. Things are working a little bit better. And his age shifted. It's gone from 68 to 67, so he's a little bit younger now. It's great. And now we go on and go, okay, we did this treatment on him. What happened if we checked him the next morning? Would it hold? Would it stay? Would there be changes? And here's what happened. Actually, the next morning, it stabilized. It didn't go back down, and actually the total health score went up a few points. So we're starting to see improvement there as well. So what we have here is, this is the treatment he had on the Trinfinity, and this is the next morning. So we see that it changed. So here it's 36% the total health, and now it's 42%. So it actually improved overnight. And so I think with Trinfinity 8, what you'll see is that when somebody gets a treatment, we heard, and we like to see through research, but we heard that things improve over time, and actually it's showing that in this particular case. After Trinfinity session 2, let's take a look at that. And here's session 2. Things are going up. And you can see on this scale, this is a Trinfinity the first time he was treated, the second time he was treated, and how much did it improve from the first to the second? It went up in each of those areas that we talked about, those functional states before. You can see that everything went up. Some areas went up 9%, 16%, 12%, and you can see the actual numbers here. And now we're going to go a little bit further, and we're going to do a third session on this gentleman. And here's session 2, and there's the next session on the same day. You can take a look at this, and we did another session on the same day, and look at this. Everything just shot up, and that's because we used they just added into the Trinfinity a new program that increases the intensity. And that, when we did the intense program, it just shot everything right up. So it really works. It just amped the whole system. And this guy's health improved all across the board on that. And his biological age went from 58, I assume his chronological age went from 68 to 58. Big improvement. So we can take a look at that treatment, and it brought the z-score up to 169.3, which is definitely in the zone, which is, the normal range is 50 to 500. So he is now, we just amped his whole system. And you can see the sympathetic nervous system is actually screaming right here because it's just like plugging him into a light socket. Everything got amped up. So it definitely moved the whole system. And his biological age now, like we said, it's gone from age 68 to 58. And this is kind of a graphic picture of from the first treatment, the last treatment we did on him, and the total improvement, which is quite remarkable. So this is actually how I got involved in the Trinfinity 8 in the first place. I saw this and I go, this is pretty amazing. I want to play with this and do some more research with this.